Alright, hello everyone, it's silverkyle, and today I'm going to be talking about the Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase that happened today, July 20th, 2020. That we had 10 hours notice of. And so right there, when they announced, okay, we're going to have a Direct, and it's in 10 hours, you know that that's not necessarily going to be a good sign. Then it's called a Nintendo Direct Mini. Minis have not been the nicest thing. And yeah, it was under 9 minutes. This was, out of all the Directs, and granted this is a Nintendo Direct Mini, so, you know, if you compare it to the Minis, it's kind of on... No, the other Minis were better than this. Even then, this is by far the weakest one so far that we've had. There's still some good things in here depending, but it's kind of on the niche side of things. So we'll get into it, but yeah, this was just very much a letdown. And when it's under 9 minutes, I feel that this video might end up being longer than the actual Direct. I mean, I try to keep it shorter than that because there's no reason to really go that much in depth into this other than, you know, ranting about it a little bit. But it's just, the thing is that Microsoft and PlayStation are having all these big events, and then you're having all these people that are doing the E3 versions of their own kind of events because E3 didn't happen, and they ended up still, you know, showing some things. Not necessarily all of them are hitting these like home runs or anything, but with Microsoft and PlayStation revealing their next-gen consoles, I really felt that Nintendo had to come out swinging and being like, here's a Nintendo Direct. It's going to be amazing. It's been over 300 days. It's almost been a year since they last real Nintendo Direct, not a mini. And I just, like, what is Nintendo doing? That's what I want to know. I want to know what they're working on. If the game is not going to come out for a year or two, I'm fine with that. I just want to know that they are making some games and I want to be hyped and excited for something. I am fine with waiting. I waited for Final Fantasy VII, the remake, for how many years? Like, there was rumblings of it in the early 2000s. And I was totally fine with waiting how long, like 10, 15 years for the game. And then when I finally got it, it blew my mind. So I'm totally fine with waiting. So I just want a Nintendo Direct. Anyway, let's talk about like the five games that they showed here. They kind of ended it off nicely, and I think that if they would have gone with that, that would have been a better Nintendo Direct, honestly. If they would have just called it Shin Megami Tensei Nintendo Direct. But they knew that that's like a niche title, so this way people, probably a lot more people tuned in for this, but expectations or the reviews for it are much lower. But had they called this Nintendo Direct Mini Shin Megami Tensei or something, and dedicated more time to the Shin Megami games, I think that would have been, we would have been like, oh, okay, well, it's obviously for that game, and then they threw in a few other things, so, you know, our expectations would have been even lower, or going in being like, okay, well, it's obviously Shin Megami Tensei, and look, they showed a few other things. I think that your expectations would have just met what they actually were. Alright, let's talk about this. So, first thing that they showed was the Legend of Zelda Cadence of Hyrule. It's getting 3 DLCs, which are rather pricey for what they were. I think the first two were $6 and the last one's $10. I think the first one was characters. The next one was 39 different songs. I think there's 5 characters in the first one, 39 songs in the second one, and then the third DLC, which is priced at $10, is actually going to have more actual gameplay, like levels or something like that. I don't know. I've never played the game. Don't really care. But even though I'm not excited for it, they then announced that they are going to have a physical copy of the game. And I'm all for physical copies, obviously. But it's just really not my kind of game that I think I'll end up picking up, even with the physical copy there. Next up, they showed Rogue's Company, or Rogue Company, which is like this third-person multiplayer game. And I had no idea about what this was. I'm not really looking forward to it either. It was just, to me, like a throwaway title. I know that these games can be relatively big, like Paladins, Smite, Overwatch, those kinds of things. But this just didn't speak to me on any form at all. The other games would stand a chance, but I even haven't played those, so. Next up, I think that they showed WWE 2K Battlegrounds, and while I'm a big wrestling fan, and I don't necessarily get all the wrestling games because I find that, you know, you have to wait a few years before you really see an upgrade or something like that, and it's honestly for the roster. So if you can just download the new characters that people create and that look exactly like them, you're usually good. Now, this is a different kind of game, and it seems more like, I think, the WWE 2K Arena or something like that. It was much more of a fight. Well, they're all fighting games, but it's unrealistic fighting, and that's more what this is about. So you're still in a ring and you're going around and doing wrestling moves, but it's just over the top. It seems as though there's power-ups and things like that, and they kind of get like a light that goes around them when they're doing a big power move, almost like Dragon Ball Z, essentially. And it doesn't look horrible, but it's not really what I want out of a wrestling games. But it looked okay, especially if you're a wrestling fan. It looked alright, but I'd prefer to get a regular 2K game, 2K21, or 2K22, because I think they're skipping the regular 2K game and putting this one here instead. I hope that the next one they really put a lot more emphasis on making the game not glitch. Like, take the time to fix your game before you release it, and then also just make everything that we liked about the previous games, put them in there. If it was in a previous game, put it in here. They were going in a lot in the right direction in certain aspects. You could have eight characters playing, which is crazy. That's a crazy amount of people, especially for a Royal Rumble. It starts to really feel like a Royal Rumble. And then Survivor Series, we're getting closer to that 5-on-5. That'll just be awesome when they finally get to that point. I think that the system will probably melt and it'll glitch like 20 times within like 5 seconds, but it'll be awesome. Next up is probably the biggest things that came here, which is so Shin Megami Tensei. We're getting the remake of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, and they're calling it an HD remaster, but I think it's a full remake. Honestly, like it's not like just a port of it from the PS2. I think that they completely remade it here, and I've never gotten into that game, or the Shin Megami Tensei series, but I've wanted to, and that's the problem here, is that if you're not into Shin Megami Tensei, because then after that they had Shin Megami Tensei 5, which they didn't really show a lot, but it's something that I'm a little bit interested in. And if you're not into the Shin Megami games, then you probably weren't really liking this Nintendo Direct. And if I don't like it, and I clearly love video games, and I've never played these games before, that kind of shows you how much of a niche game it is. I'm not saying that I'm the biggest gamer out there. I'm not. I have almost about 500 games, which is for some people nothing. But I'm definitely one that reads about like literally every game that comes out. Like if it's gonna be a big title, even the niche games. Like I've known about Shin Megami Tensei for years, like over a decade now, probably 15 years. I just never got into them. So it just like the expectations of a mini automatically drop it. But because it's from Nintendo, we kind of wanted like, oh, at least they're showing something. But then it's partners, so then it goes a little bit lower. I think that if they would have had Bravely Default and one other game here, you could have done a little bit better, because I think a lot more people are more excited for Bravely Default 2 than any of the games that they announced here. And one other game would have been nice. I think it would have been much easier to just reach out and be like, hey, anybody else want to join in on this? And they'd be like, yeah, it's an opportunity to show more game play with Nintendo helping them out. I think that it would have worked better. But yeah, just disappointing, unfortunately. And we really need a real Nintendo Direct. It's crazy how long it's been. Nintendo's just like, yeah, we're leaning back here and not doing anything. That's essentially what it's making it seem like. We're going to show you partners. We're not even going to show you first-party stuff. We don't know what we're making. Like, they made Paper Mario. Awesome. That's great. A lot of people like that. Xenoblade Chronicles, the remaster, awesome as well, but it was a remaster. Probably not a lot of people worked on that. And Paper Mario, as amazing as the series might be, they probably didn't need a massive team to be working on that either. And then the other game that they made was Animal Crossing, which did phenomenally well for them. Once again, there's not like, the game's fairly small in scope, in the sense that it's not taking a lot of graphical power. Like it's not the most realistic game, far from it actually. And the size of the game is relatively small because of how big your island is. So there's not like a lot going into that. It's not like they went in crazy detail and they had to make this big open world game. That's not Animal Crossing at all. Xenoblade Chronicles is, however, it's just a remaster, so they had all the stuff there, right? So I don't know. What are they working on? There's small teams for smaller teams for these games, and I need to see what the big games are that they're working on. I think everybody needs to. This is what we want. We are damn hungry for more Nintendo Directs, an actual proper Nintendo Direct. So thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this Nintendo Direct Mini. and what you want to see in the actual Nintendo Direct. You have all been bearded in. Beardage!